So the August leaks have just dropped, and I am looking at these for the first time with you guys, but I already know about the Thanos Fractured Frontier character. This is the Fractured Frontier season, it seems like. It's very cowboy-oriented, but this will be a little different to usual because I'll pretty much be looking at these for the first time alongside you guys. I do also know that the new keyword Quickdraw is a thing, and it's not confirmed yet, but it's looking like Hearthstone, where if you play the card on the turn you draw it, it triggers that ability, and I think that's pretty safe to assume. So first off, we have Thanos Fractured Frontier, which looks to be the Season Pass card and is perhaps the most complicated of all of these cards. It might take a little bit of a breakdown here, but he is a 5/7 with Game Start, Load, and Infinity Shot, which we'll get to shortly. Your cards have Quick Draw, Thanos loads again, so as far as I can tell from that, it basically means that every card you have in your deck will have the additional text Quick Draw, Thanos loads again. I do not believe that will replace that text, it's probably just additional, which means then if you play the card the turn you draw it, Thanos will then load another shot. And then on reveal, which this is the on reveal for Thanos, fire all loaded shots. So the card it seems very strong, but to actually know how strong this is, let me show you all of the shots. So we have Reality Shot, which makes a copy of your lowest cost card here. We have Space Shot, which gives this +1 power. Thanos Fractured Frontier has movable next turn. By give this, I'm going to assume it means give Thanos. I think that's pretty safe to assume. Then Power Shot, give this +3 power, again Thanos. Soul Shot, destroy the weakest enemy card here, which seems very strong. Time Shot, reduce the cost of your cards in hand by 1. Mind Shot, draw 2 cards. So this card seems nuts. I realized I was kind of leading this up to be like I was going to be reviewing them like it's the start of the season, only for me to just realize it's not the start of the season yet, so I'll just casually breeze on through just looking at these guys. But this card seems very strong, but there's a couple of factors like we kind of need to know before we know how strong this is. Do you know which stones have been loaded, the shots have been loaded? Because I would probably assume no, I don't really know. There's no form of tracker for anything like that in the game, right? So I would probably say you don't know. Which adds like a level of randomness, where if you knew you had a soul shot, for example, and the enemy's weakest card was Invisible Woman First Steps, you could snap knowing that if you played Thanos there, you'd destroy her. Except if you don't know, I guess he doesn't have the snap potential, but it doesn't really change how strong he is too much. He has some crazy ones in here. Drawing cards and reducing cost of cards and all those things are strong, but again, you don't know what you've got, I'm assuming. So it'll make it kind of hard to know how to play him. I suppose reliably most of the time you could probably expect to want to play him in a location that you don't have many cards, but your opponent has more. The other unknown question is, when he loads a shot, is it always a different shot? Or can you get 2 of the same shot, for example? Like, if you got 2 time shots, then it just reduces the cost of your hand by 2, which would be crazy. But also, like, is it always this different shot? I'm just going to go through all 6 and then roll again and then do another random 6. Because I'm not entirely sure. Oh, also, does it limit itself at 6? It'd be quite difficult to get Quick Draw on everything. I assume if you played multiple cards on the first turn, then yes, you could probably go over that limit. Which probably means it's not limited to 6, just in case you wanted to build around it being that way. But I guess it's kind of a difficult card to build around, because if you don't draw it, you're kind of screwed. Although, I guess in that case it lives in a similar vein to Zombie Galacti. But alas, I am rambling a lot about this card, but I suppose there's a lot to say about it. A very, very interesting card. I think August is going to be a must pick up for a lot of people. And next up we have Jane Foster Fractured Frontier, which is a 3/4 on reveal. Judge 4 other random characters. I assume that means in play. +1 power if yours, -1 power if theirs. Quick Draw, judge the worthy again. So I guess that just means re-trigger the on reveal, probably. But you'll play her and she'll give power to your cards or negative to the enemy. So it's a bit like Kahori cross with Hazmat in a way, I guess, to some degree. Which is kind of cool. You could put it in a flick deck. be honest, I could genuinely see it working in an afflict deck. But at the same time, you could put it in a buff deck. But because it's so unreliable on whether it's going to give buffs or nerfs, what would you call it? Afflicts, I guess. It makes it hard to really fit her into those style decks, so she'll probably find a home somewhere else where you'll reliably want to play her on turn 3. I mean, by default, she's a 3/8 in, well, just with her on reveal, but if you quick draw her, she's a 3/12, which is pretty nuts. Obviously, cards like that mean you have to have enemies on the board or allies on the board, and it does say other characters. It does say judge 4, so you have to have 4 targets, I imagine, in play, which come turn 3 is technically possible, but not necessarily likely. Which then does it mean you're playing her off curve? If you quick draw her on like turn 4 or something, you play her then. Maybe. I don't think it would be too bad, but again, this quick draw ability, I'm thinking about it now, it seems like it could be difficult to pull off, because imagine you have this card in your deck, and then at the start of the game when you draw your 4 cards, I played this game for thousands of hours, and I cannot tell you how many cards you draw. So, I just think it's not one of those things I've paid attention to, but I think it's 4. If she's within those first 4 cards, or if you draw her turn 2, you can't play her to get the quick draw, right? So she's always a 3/8, which is kind of a bit unfortunate, but I do think quick draw is a fresh ability that will be pretty nice, and probably better than objective in all of senses. Which, come to mention it again, I don't think there's a single objective card this season either. But yeah, she is the Supremium Season Pass. What is it called? The Supex Pass. I don't know. You know what I mean. It's the one where you have to pay more or get her in a pack if you have enough credits. Anyway, I'm rambling. On to the next one. So the Series 5 weekly release of the same day is Psylocke Fractured Frontier, which is a 3/4. On reveal, give cards in your hand that are 5 cost or more, -1 cost. Quick draw your whole hand instead. So she sort of works like a cross between like Wingbeat and Sarah, I suppose. I mean, if you draw her on turn 3 and play her turn 3, that's pretty solid. All round, I guess I would say interesting card, but also kind of bland. I don't know. You want to play her in a deck where you have a lot of high cost cards, but at the same time, I don't know. Like, would you rather ramp? In like a ramp deck, would you rather play Electro into Blink, you know, for example? Or would you rather play Psylocke into Blink? Because you could Psylocke, hit Blink, Blink goes to 4, and then every single other card that costs 5 or more in your hand will then be reduced, which seems pretty strong. I don't even think the quick draw is that much better with this card, because you're probably building around the fact that you're going to have a lot of 5 drops in the deck. So quick draw just becomes a small bonus, as opposed to Jane, where it's probably quite necessary. But yeah, this is a pretty interesting card. I don't know where to rank her really. I mean, she might be quite strong, but again, I'm going into ranking, so what am I doing? I'm not ranking them yet. So I suppose these cards could change quite a bit. But yeah, interesting one. Next up, the Series 4 card, which releases the day after it seems, is Dr. Octopus Fractured Frontier, which is a 2/1. On reveal, put your leftmost card in your hand on the top of your deck to get a random character. Give both +3 power. This is a really weird one. It's like almost the opposite of Mother Ascani in a way. You're taking the card that's in your hand and putting it on top of your deck, which means you're going to draw it next. But you're giving yourself a random card. I was just about to say something, but I realized I'm having a habit of just saying like, this card is a cross between this and this. But this card is a cross between Toxie and Mother Ascani, right? Because it's weird. It gives the card +3 power. Then again, then you draw it next turn so you can play it, so I don't know what I'm saying. But it's a random character as well, so it's interesting. I think this would see playing like an Arasham deck, for example, where you don't care too much about what's in your hand, you just care about getting bigger stat sticks out there. Definitely an interesting one. It's almost like a juggler kind of ability. I don't know how viable it's going to be. It's a Series 4 card. I can't think of a deck it would want to go in. Because you're probably going to be playing it pretty early, right? But you're also generating a random card, so like Victoria Hand style stuff. It's weird. And then does the random character that is placed there stay in the left side of your hand? Like, if it drags it out and puts it back in the left-hand side. That could be good Mother Ascani synergy, maybe. But if it doesn't, it just puts it on the right, then it's probably more just card generation synergy. Probably like Horseman, Gambit Horseman style stuff. Next up, the weekly card released for the following week is Red Wolf Fractured Frontier, which I'm surprised they're calling it Fractured Frontier because Red Wolf doesn't actually exist, I don't think. I mean, I don't really know the character too well, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it is a 2/0 with on reveal, +1 power for each card in your hand. Quickdraw, give your hand +1 power. I think this card is pretty damn good. It's a 2/0, which if you repeat that ability, is nuts. But come to think of it, if you play this card when you quickdraw it, and then you repeat its ability with like Grandmaster, will the quickdraw go off again? Probably not, right? Because it's not actually part of the on reveal. It's just an interesting thing that came to mind. I guess quickdraw is technically different to on reveal, which means I suppose in that case, if you played a quickdraw card onto Cosmo, the on reveal wouldn't happen, but the quickdraw would, maybe? Or for all these on reveal, yeah, I guess all the quickdraw cards are on reveal cards as well. So perhaps, I'm not sure. That's something that's interesting to think about, right? But this card, +1 power for each card in your hand, is almost like a mini Devil Dino, or like Cassandra Nova for and generation decks, which again, I've done the exact same thing, where I'm just merging two cards together. And I guess it is along those lines, which is pretty cool. Devil Dino decks would probably love something like this. You Moon Girl it and play it down, but it can only max be a 2/6, right? Unless you played Crystal Red Wolf. I mean, 2/7, which is interesting, I suppose. But giving the rest of your hand +1 power as well is pretty nice. I'd definitely love to try this card out. It's more of like the shield archetype, probably Victoria hand again, Gambit Horseman style stuff. Very, very cool effect. But perhaps the one I'm most looking forward to so far. Currently just flicking through the other ones looking at them, but I don't know if these ones are cool to me as much as this one. It's pretty cool, right? But anyway, before I get ahead of myself, I'll let you guys actually know what the cards are. So on the following week, we have Death Fractured Frontier, which is a 5/7 on reveal. Resurrect all of your destroyed characters to random locations. So, am I going to be able to resist comparing this to a card? Realistically, no. It's hella, right? It's hella for destroy. Which is interesting. It's almost like, what was the point in Archangel, right? You have to do so much work for Archangel and it brings something completely random back, whereas you just play Death and it brings back everything. It's like technically compare Archangel to Ghost Rider in a way. But it's a weird one. But also very, very cool, because if you think about like those Airwalker, is it like Firelord style decks, where you're playing Sage and whatever else you play in them kind of decks. I've always wanted to try them, but I didn't have Sage for the longest time. I only got her recently. So I might try something like that. Or perhaps save it for when this new card comes out, because that would be nuts if you think about it. Playing Sage or Cassandra Nova or the other 3-drops that scale upon on reveals, destroying them and then playing Death, just bring them all back and proc like all of Sage's on reveal. I keep saying Sage, but it's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. There's probably another one that I'm going to go back and realize that I completely missed, but very, very similar to Hela. Very cool though. I think it takes more effort than Hela. You just play a card that discards your entire hand with Hela, and then she just brings all of those cards back, whereas with this it's much more difficult. You need to actually have played the card and then destroyed it. It is definitely going to give fuel to those decks that I was just mentioning though, which is very cool actually. It doesn't give them any buffs or anything. I did meddle with, in one of my buff videos, making, is it Nova at one point, give power to your destroyed cards. Maybe like if Nova was destroyed, give all of your destroyed cards +2 power or something like that. I know this is not the type of video for that style stuff, but if that was the case, playing Nova in a deck like this would be very cool. It doesn't exist, it's not a thing, but it was just a cool idea that just came to my mind. But apart from that, it's probably just like a weaker version of Hela, right? It's still a very cool card, and I will be excited to try it out. Then on the very next day, we have Hellcow Fractured Frontier, which is end of turn, afflict all other cards here with -1 power, then destroy your cards here with 0 power or less. Interesting. So it's kind of afflict destroy synergy. It's probably going to go very well with Dormammu. Think about it. Dormammu has a lot of afflicting kind of things already, but it's also needing to get things destroyed, which this card would do perfectly. It could also go with the Annihilus style stuff, where you're just trying to get rid of all those cards that are negative power on your side, but it does kind of make Annihilus less interesting in that case. Like, imagine you play Sentry with this card on top of it. It's giving -1 power to all the enemy stuff and then destroys Sentry. I'm 100% gonna try this in my Evolve style list. I don't know how great it would work, but I guess it doesn't really matter, because if Hellcow reduces something massively in power on your side, then you just evolve it with like Merlin or Cersei or something. When they expect to be winning that location, it will definitely catch them off guard. Also with Sentry works perfectly with that style deck. But anyway, again, getting ahead of myself, but that is definitely the kind of deck I would love to try this in. I think there's quite a few different decks this card would do well in. Probably another one I'm excited for. I didn't properly read this one when I was saying that Red Wolf was the card I was most excited for. I do think Red Wolf has potential to be a very irritating card eventually. But for now, both those cards I am pretty excited for. And lastly, rounding this off, we have Red Hulk Fractured Frontier, which is a 3/8, very strong already. On reveal, -1 power for each enemy card here. Quickdraw, +1 power instead. Interesting. Kind of has that Gladiator effect, right? Where it's a 3/8 and it relies on the opponent a little bit to let you know whether it's going to be good or not. -1 power for each enemy card here. I don't know. I think most of the time this is just a 3/8, right? If you got this on turn... well, my concern earlier with things being quick-drawed was that if you drew them at the start of the game, or if it costed 3, you drew it turn 2, it wouldn't be too great. But at the same time, with a card like Red Hulk, if you drew it right at the start of the game, by the time it became turn 3, you would just play this, and it's fairly likely the opponent has a location without a card in it, so it would just be a 3/8, which is pretty good. And even then, even if they had one card, it would be a 3/7. And again, Luke Cage exists, right? So you can just negate that. I guess that is also a very important fact to mention for Hellcow. Luke Cage exists, so that -1 power would just be for your opponent's side. You don't have to worry about it. Again, I'm going back to that card. I actually think it's pretty cool. I wasn't like the biggest fan of Hellcow in general, but this one is much more interesting. Anyway, for Red Hulk, if you quick draw it, you get +1 power instead. So say you draw this turn 6 or something, your opponent has a full side. It's a 3/12. That's pretty crazy. You're just getting a 3/12 on the last turn. It's giving me what is it? Those Sauron negative list style vibes there. Very, very cool. And that rounds it off for all of the cards in this upcoming, well, not even upcoming, like August season. We've still got the Spider-Man one before then, which I covered a couple of weeks ago now, I think. This is looking insane. This season, I don't know what to say. It's very, very cool season. It's like almost space cowboys to a degree. Very, very cool. I love that sort of stuff. I'm very hyped for the season, and I hope you guys are too. But before then, we've still got the Spider-Man one, I suppose, which again looks pretty nuts. These cards just keep looking crazier and crazier, and it does make me wonder if Quick Draw could be added to any old cards. Be sure to let me know if you think of any in the comments, because right now nothing comes to mind. But I went into this with a fresh mind, and I'm now very excited for this season. And I hope you guys are too. So, if you enjoyed the video, please do drop a like and a subscribe. And possibly a hype. I don't really understand that whole hype thing. But if it's a thing and it helps the channel, then I would always appreciate it. So thanks in advance, guys, and I'll speak to you all next time.